Welcome to Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine. I'm your host, Jill Jardine, Master's in Counseling Psychology, longtime astrologer, psychic healer, and yogi. In this episode, my guest is Sarah Adams, intuitive consultant. Sarah Adams offers professional tarot and astrology as well as channeling. Stay tuned to this episode to learn more. Welcome to the episode featuring my guest, Sarah Adams, intuitive consultant. Sarah Adams offers professional tarot and astrology, as well as channeling, reiki, and chakra work. She has been practicing tarot, astrology, energy work, and doing various kinds of readings for 20 years. In addition to offering guidance to clients via private readings, parties, fundraisers, events, and workshops, Sarah is also a writer, full-time marketing professional working on gender equity in the workforce, and last but not least, a mom. She lives with her 3 daughters in their home in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where they love to cook, do arts and crafts, garden, swim, and occasionally do family yoga. Sarah is in the process of rebranding her business, but to join her mailing list for readings or to connect with her and contact her, reach out at her email at Sarah_Adams1@yahoo.com. That's Sarah, SARAH_Adams, capital ADAMS1@yahoo.com. It is my honor and privilege to welcome my colleague and friend, Sarah Adams. Welcome, Sarah. So glad to have you on the show today. I understand you're going to talk about self-care and empath survival and share some tips on how to stay grounded, centered, and connected to your higher self or the divine, and to stay shielded from lower vibes during chaotic times and any other draining situations, and what's good to do just for maintenance. What do you have to share with my listeners today, Sarah?
Well, thank you for having me here today, Jill.
Always a pleasure.
I wanted to remind the human race about self-care.
Good idea.
Yes. I'm a mother of 3. I last year was helping to take care of an elderly relative. I work full-time. I have my side spiritual, psychic astrology business, and life is very busy.
Yes.
So if you're like me and you want to take care of everybody, but you do get drained by people's energy,
Right.
or by situations, then self-care is really important. And I think it is for anybody. The idea is to fill your own cup before you fill others. And
Right.
that way you can be strong and stable for others and be a great support. And it's like the oxygen mask on the airplane. You've got to put your own mask on first and get your own oxygen first, and then the people next to you, your loved ones. So it's for anyone, self-care, but especially empaths, those who are ultra in tune with the energy of others and others' emotions. Empaths may have to do a little more work because they're more sensitive. So the self-care routine, you can adjust and find what's the perfect recipe for you and how long or how little you need. Self-care is about learning what habits, routines, thoughts, people, places, and things, including the food we consume, are good for you and what are not so much. And sometimes self-care can mean deciding to let go of what no longer serves you so you can embrace what does.
Yes.
And it's not just about a good daily physical routine. We have our routines. We get up, we brush our teeth, we shower, we take our vitamins. But beyond that, what can we do for all parts of ourselves? Emotional hygiene, spiritual hygiene. The idea is that we have 3 bodies. We have a physical, emotional, and spiritual aspect of ourselves. And the self-care is about, addressing all of those or whatever's out of balance.
Okay, so that's great to know. There's so many different facets of self-care that people may not even think about. Sarah, what are the basic principles of self-care and being an empath?
Self-care is the practice of taking action to preserve or improve one's own overall health, taking a productive role in protecting your own well-being and happiness, in particular during periods of stress, but it can be used as daily maintenance. And I mentioned that empaths are more sensitive and that self-care can be really important, even survival for them. An empath is a person with almost a supernatural ability to apprehend the mental or emotional state of another individual. So, psychics are usually empathic.
Right.
Anybody who's in tune with the emotions and the energy of others, of a place, when they walk in a room
Right.
or go to a
Psychics,
building.
mediums, sensitives, and every mother is an empath. Pretty
Really?
much. Pretty much. There's some exceptions.
Yes. Empaths can, because they're so sensitive with others' energy or the energy in a room or a situation or in their workplace or wherever. It could be on the subway, they're picking up stuff. Empaths, because of that, they can sometimes get out of alignment when others' energy are affecting them because they can literally walk into a room or a tense situation and pick up on that. Whether you are an empath or not, you may be wondering, this does still pertain to you. It's good to do self-care so you can be your best self, so
Right.
you can be your best human. So,
So these are
yeah,
tips and tools for everybody. And I would say, too, that children are naturally empathic. They feel things. It's just they get programmed to shut it down by parents
exactly.
and teachers and society. So we come into the world with these open radars to energies, and society and life starts to deprogram people and they shut them down. But then there's the occasional person who can maintain it despite their environment, their conditioning, their parents.
Yes.
And sometimes people shut it down, but then it wakes up later in life because they feel freer and they're in a situation, or they do a workshop or something happens and they open up again. So again, this is information and news that everybody can use.
Right. And that's a really good point about kids because someone listening, they might say, well, I don't feel that that describes me, but it describes my kids. And like, what do I do?
Right.
I try to stack the deck in my children's favor because all three of them are empaths.
Yes.
So, we're ahead of the game because I'm already doing this self-care for myself. I extend it to them as well.
Right. So I noticed that you are going to break down self-care for the mind, the body, and the spirit. Let's jump into some suggestions about self-care for the mind, for your mental body.
That would be great. And I just want to make a quick note. With the mind, body, spirit, they're all connected.
Right.
So, I defined it into these categories to make it easier for the listeners. But, there might be some in, mind that also are in body or
Right.
spirit.
They can cross over to.
Exactly. So, starting with self care for the mind, I really recommend meditation. And sometimes people get stressed about meditation. They'll
Right.
say, I have to meditate to meditate.
Right.
And my advice is keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it.
Right.
The whole idea is to still your thoughts, or to still what the Buddhists call the monkey mind.
Right.
It's that constant chatter in the back of your mind. That chatter that if you don't know how to shut it down, it could keep you up at night.
Right. We call it vritti chitta in Sanskrit.
Thank you. And the idea is stilling your thoughts and focusing on your breath to calm your body and your mind and align your spirit. So it can be as simple as sitting cross-legged, stilling those thoughts by focusing on the breath. If you're focusing on inhale, exhale, like a really good, easy meditation, sit cross-legged, eyes closed, inhale, counting to 5, hold the breath, counting to 7, then exhale, counting to 10. Just really getting the stale air out of your
Right.
lungs. But also, it's like in yoga, that cleansing breath. When
Right. Right.
sometimes they call it the lion's breath in yoga.
There's so many different types
Yeah.
of breath. Like there's the Kapalabhati, which is the exhalation through your nose really fast, like. But there's like alternate nostril breathing,
Yes.
or if you want to come down, breathe only out of the left. If you need energy, breathe only out of the right nostril. So there's so many yogic techniques that listeners can go and Google and find one that works for them, or play around and see what actually works. And you mentioned inhale through the nose, but then you exhale through the mouth, which
Yes.
also releases the organs, such as the liver, and helps people feel relaxed. So there's a lot that people can do with the breath. And they can also do mantra, which actually means in Sanskrit to still the mind. But that's a whole nother episode, and there's plenty of them already on Cosmic Scene. I think we have about 14 of them that they can listen to.
I think that is important to mention that part of my self-care routine are the mantras that
Thank
Jill,
you.
as my teacher, has taught me.
Thank you, Sarah.
Well, thank you.
And again, we have many episodes of Cosmic Scene. Go back and listen to some Sanskrit mantra podcasts and then practice meditation and breath.
Yes. And I think the point is, however you meditate, it's about going within and centering. Because when our thoughts start racing or we're under a stressful situation and we're being pulled in so many directions, really centering and just kind of aligning yourself, it can put a pause on that and give you clarity. But also, we have a tendency to look for answers in our external world, to
Right.
turn to someone else to make us feel better, to turn on the TV, to maybe turn to an unhealthy snack. This is kind of saying, like, stop everything and just clear your mind. And then
Yes.
you are better able to accomplish what you need to accomplish.
Right. And as you mentioned, everybody looks for external, but it's amazing when you start going within, the voice of guidance comes through. And it's different than a compulsive or addictive voice. It's very profound and usually quite simple.
Yes. And it feels calming or grounded versus the voice of the ego who might say, meditation's stupid, you don't have time. And then, you're doing all these things and you're scattered and running around. It's like our ego sometimes wants to trick us. And we just have to remember, like, all we have to do is be still and silent and connect to our higher self. That's going to give us better guidance than the news or asking a friend for advice.
My guest is Sarah Adams. Check her out at sarahdams1 at yahoo.com. When we come back, Sarah's going to talk more about this self-care for the mind, including visualization, therapy, boundaries, and more. Welcome back, Sarah. You're going to talk now about visualization as far as self-care for the mind and what that's about.
Sure. Visualization can be an extension of meditation. Like, you can visualize during meditation. For example, sometimes while I'm meditating, my eyes are closed. I'm almost like looking at the back of my mind, if that makes sense. I'll just focus on my third eye and all the different color changes.
Right.
And it will start out purple, but it will morph into a purple red or a blue purple. And sometimes while I'm meditating, I just do my third eye visualizations. Other times, I will scan my whole body and kind of try to see what's going on energetically. But with visualization, you can also do visual tactile things like create a vision board. You can also visualize energy and protection. For example, I visualize a protective bubble of white light around myself and my children daily.
Yes.
And the visualization, even today, when I got dressed with intent, and I was like, show me what color I should wear, and I got green.
And it's
funny.
Mercury's Day, which is Green Day.
Yes, and we're all wearing green here, which is interesting. So we're all in tune with that. So we've covered meditation, visualization. The next thing, as far as self-care for your mind, I recommend therapy, and that could be whatever that means for you. It could be talk therapy. It could be, there's a lot of spiritual therapists now,
Right.
holistic therapists. If you need it or you feel like you need it or you need to talk to somebody. Some people, their therapy might instead be self-therapy and journaling. That's fine. It's just the idea of reflecting on your thoughts, reflecting on what you've been through. And as I mentioned, I extend my self-care to my kids. I have my kids in therapy because, I'm divorced and they went through that while they were very young. For me, it's about teaching myself, because I didn't necessarily have these tools as a kid,
Right.
Teaching myself and my kids tools to process their emotions, to digest difficult situations.
Yes.
And to also like find forgiveness, let go of things, not internalize, and, kind of do that self-healing. So the next thing I wanted to talk about, self-care for the mind, is boundaries.
Do,
Because
do, do, do,
I
do, do, do.
know. Sometimes self-care is having boundaries. Sometimes self-care is saying no.
Right.
It can even mean canceling plans.
Absolutely.
It's about not being a people pleaser. And we're in Libra season right now.
Yeah.
It's super busy. Everybody, needs something. There's a million priorities. If we cannot worry about pleasing people in our personal life, because sometimes there are people we have to please, our boss, our spouse, but it's not that not everybody is important to us, right? But we want to have friends and people in our life and boundaries so that people, they love us and respect what we need.
Right.
So that's why I put canceling plans on here, because we might feel that pressure. I have to go to that dinner date, or, they'll be mad or whatever. It's like, honor yourself, and also honor what your body, mind, and spirit is telling you. If you have anxiety about going into a situation, you don't have to do that if it's not necessary. If there's somebody who you don't want to talk to, but they keep guilting you or making you feel bad, it's okay. In fact, it's necessary to have boundaries with others in order to preserve your energy.
Right. I have a good example of that just happened this past weekend. I was supposed to meet some friends to pick up a gift that they were giving me, a beautiful, beautiful painting of Krishna that was an antique that was being gifted. But they wanted me to go to where they lived in Boston, and I don't like driving into the city. So we came to a nice compromise where they really wanted me to have it. And we met in a really easy place that was off the highway, so I didn't even have to go into the city of Boston. I went around the city on a highway and met them off the highway. So that's a great example.
Yeah.
Because I knew I would get anxious, and it would not be a comfortable situation to drive into Boston on a weekend. So this worked out perfectly, and I zipped in and out and hit minimal traffic, and it worked out for everybody.
Right. And that's a great example of like how you can have boundaries with your energy and your time, but still do it in a respectful way. In fact, people with great boundaries, you'll notice, people don't get offended by them.
Right.
It's like, I remember before I did so much boundary work, I have a really good friend who's a Virgo, excellent boundaries, but I remember being like, how does she grace through life? And no one demands of her. No one expects. I mean, she only does what she wants to do. And no one was upset. Everybody was happy because there was a balance.
Right.
Right? But times in my life, and again, it's Libra season, so everybody keep this in mind. When I was people pleasing, when I was over explaining myself,
Right.
when I was so concerned about people being upset with me, it was a self-worth thing. I wasn't valuing my time and my energy, but also they picked up on them, and it was almost a self-fulfilling prophecy. I felt
Right.
like I could never make anybody happy.
Right. And they would become more demanding.
Exactly.
So boundaries are really important with people, but how about where you put your own energy? Like having boundaries. Give examples of that, Sarah.
Well, honestly, for me, it's unplugging from electronics, really and truly. And it's a concerted effort in this modern day world. Social media detoxes, if you can, if your business is not depending on it. I decided during the height of the pandemic, I went off social media for like a solid year.
Wow.
It was so freeing. And the best part about it is no one knew what I was doing, where I was, what was going on in my life, unless they were in my inner circle, especially during the pandemic. We got a little isolated. But again, it really comes down to who you are and what is your makeup. If you're someone who already has super duper boundaries and you can get super hermity and even isolate yourself, you might want to create a healthy boundary where, okay, I don't want to be lonely. I don't want to be alone. I'm opening myself up to healthy relationships with
Right.
my boundaries. So it's like adjust it for you. But I mean, I'm big with boundaries with the electronics. My kids want to have TVs in their bedrooms. I say, no way.
Yeah.
Like, we just try to keep the electronics out of the bedroom. I'll talk more about crystals later, but like, I keep selenite crystals near all my electronics to kind of block that EMF radiation to create a barrier.
Selenite and shungite are great for that.
Yes, and also black tourmaline. And you know what? Even down to communication, just like it might mean canceling a plan, it's okay to not answer texts right away.
Oh, that's great advice.
In this world of like instant communication, sometimes we feel the pressure to drop everything we're doing to text someone back. And it can get to the point where, like, you're in the car, you feel like you have to answer texts at a red light or pick up the phone. It's like, it's insane. Like, we have to be safe. And when did we become slaves to technology, right?
Right. Well, I say that it might not be a bad thing if the grid goes down. Some of my, healer friends have been saying that for a while.
Yeah.
What about people who like watch the news and things like that?
Well, I am someone, I do selectively read the news. It's important for me. I'm really big on like human advocacy issues, human rights issues, women's and children's issues.
Right.
So I selectively read the news because I personally, I want to know what's going on. However, you need to know when you need to turn off the news and the TV or put down your phone. You know, Apple News on my phone, it's this app and it's got all the news from all the different outlets. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like I can't stop. That's when I know there's an electronic cord from my phone. It is sucking my energy. And also the media owners, like, the 1% who own all the media, they've got dueling news networks. They want the division. They want to capture our attention.
Right.
So really, when it comes to news, just like what you listen to for music, what you eat as food, what you watch on TV, I recommend discernment.
Right. Discrimination and discernment, what you take in.
Yes, and like neutral news outlets and,
Excellent
Yes.
discussion of boundaries here, Sarah Adams. When we come back, you're going to tell our listeners about self-care for the body and some spiritual rituals. So stay tuned. Sarah, I know my listeners want to hear more about self-care for the body, physical self-care tools and actions. What can you share with them?
Sure. Some of you might already be doing these things, even if you're not doing self-care for your mind or your spirit. Everybody has kind of like different strengths and weaknesses. You could, be a gym person and be perfectly physical fit, but, you've never sat down and meditated, all right? So this body part is for those who maybe they are really spiritual, maybe they're doing all the mind stuff, but they're not grounding. So
Right.
This is the part of the talk we talk about grounding, being
Okay.
present in your body, okay?
Be here now.
Yes. So for the first thing, an obvious exercise, body work, movement. The idea is moving the energy, shifting the energy, moving it out of your body.
Yes.
And people might not realize that when they go for a run, that's part of what they're doing.
Yeah, they're moving energy for sure.
Absolutely. And not everybody is a gym person or a runner. It can be biking, hiking, yoga, stretching, breathing. We talked a little bit about breath work already. Babies are born knowing how to naturally breathe, like really breathe.
Yes.
And then much like little kids are psychic and then they're, brainwashed, that's not real. It's almost like the older we get, we forget how to breathe. That's a huge part of like yoga. And even if you're stretching, sometimes I don't have time to exercise. I still make sure to get down on my mat and stretch and breathe. And maybe not a full yoga class, but do a full few of my favorite moves or wherever I'm feeling affected.
Right.
Part of that too is you can scan your body and see where there are blocks. So my right hip, I feel like I could write a book, my right hip, because I'm a Taurus and I hold on to things.
Right.
And they get stuck in my right hip when I don't want to let go, when I don't want to move forward. I have a Capricorn friend, it hits her in her knees. Capricorn
Interesting.
rules the knees and
Yeah, well,
rigidity.
Saturn is the whole leg and the hip. So
Yeah.
any Saturn transit's going to get those legs and hips
Yeah.
activated.
So my hip has been blocked because it's been a really busy fall. And, we'll get into this in a later podcast, but there have been 7 astral bodies retrograding.
Right.
We're coming out of a Mercury retrograde. So I got a little blocked. So sometimes it's just breathing into that hip and really with my mind and the physical, motions, pushing the energy out. Walking, I can't say enough for walking. If you are a true empath, I highly recommend walking in the woods and even hugging a tree.
Yes.
My neighbors must think I am a kook because I hug a tree in my yard. There's a couple trees. When I want to feel piney, I hug the pine. When I want to feel oaky, I hug the oak. And I'll get into like sage and sacred smoke, but like I'll be walking around my yard chanting with sage and then hugging a tree. What do I care? That's my boundary. Part of my boundary is that I don't give a crap about
neighbors.
Not just neighbors, but like
people's judgment.
The outside world and judgment. I am who I am. I am authentic. If that's not for you, great.
Right.
Most people, though, it's like observation and like, ooh, what's that all about? So anyways, don't be embarrassed to hug a tree, folks, because this is the thing. When I hug a tree, there's really a method to this, okay? I picture energy going up through my crown chakra on the top of my head and going up like the branches of a tree and connecting with the universe and the leaves and bringing in the oxygen and the light.
Right.
And then, okay, I feel the energy go down through me, and I have my feet, which are placed near the roots of the tree. I feel roots in my feet going down into Mother Earth and anchoring and grounding me. So I really recommend this. A teacher told me to hug a tree like 20 years ago, and I have been hugging since. And
plus, this goes back to your past life as a druid high priestess.
Yes.
Who worked with the trees.
Yes.
In the sacred groves.
Yes, yes. So it really does speak to me. Also, swimming, being in water. Ocean swimming is great. Like the forest, there's the negative ions.
Or walking by the ocean. I walk by the ocean. I live by a beach. I walk right where the ocean meets the sand every day. And it's the negative, ionization while chanting mantras. It makes me high every morning before I see my clients.
That's funny because I must have learned this from you without realizing it. I always, when I'm beach walking, do the mantras you taught me.
There you go.
I'm telling you, I'm not necessarily solving world problems, but I am working through major stuff here just by walking, chanting. I mean, I go as far as say like healing generational family dysfunction, clearing karma.
I kind of put it out into the universe and say heal the oceans, heal the land, heal the environment, stop the hurricanes from hitting this shoreline.
Right.
So we can work with the weather with this kind of energy.
And also too, it's the microcosm and the macrocosm. Within us is the microcosm, but the macrocosm is like all of humanity. So, there's a collective unconscious that we all share, almost like an iCloud above all of us.
Right.
So when I'm praying and doing work, I do, like you, pray for humanity. And it might be that I was doom scrolling too much news.
Yes.
And I read too many stories about like parents killing their children or something horrible things, child human trafficking. And it does make me cry sometimes as an empath. I will cry for the world, but I will also cry for the overwhelm I feel and like, what can I do?
Right.
That isn't helping. It's going to that place doesn't help. What does help though is, like I said, being discerning with my news consumption, but also doing the mantras, praying, working on myself, working on my children, and then sending that out to the collective.
Right. It's what Carl Jung called the collective unconscious. But, in spiritual traditions, it's funny you were talking about a tree. It's also called the world tree, anima mundi. So the connection we all have in the unconscious realm of the whole. We have our own personal subconscious or unconscious, but we do connect. That's the whole thing. Quantum field, we are one. It's all connected.
Right.
So as we do for ourselves, we're doing it for the world. So Sarah, what are some final tools and tips for self-care for our listeners?
First of all, I'd like to mention using crystals is very helpful, and I do this daily. I have my crystals on for this podcast, and they really can be used to even align your spiritual centers. We've done a whole chakra talk in a past podcast, and we're going to talk about it some more in our next podcast, which is self-care for the spirit. But I just want to mention there are crystals for each chakra. And if you go up from top to bottom, you can use garnet for grounding for your root chakra, carnelian for your spleen chakra or your sacral chakra, citrine for your solar plexus, rose quartz for your heart chakra, lapis lazuli for your throat chakra, amethyst for your third eye, and quartz for your crown. Some other physical actual tools and steps that you can use, you can do herbal or Ayurvedic detoxes, as well as detoxing substances from your system. But I'm doing an Ayurvedic detox right now that Jill recommended, and it is great. I also recommend smudging, using sacred smoke to purify yourself, your home, your car, your office. You can use white sage or Palo Santo wood, which is from Peru, incense to clear and bless your space. And the method with that, you do counterclockwise. You walk counterclockwise to remove energy, and then you walk clockwise to seal and bless the space. Essential oils are also very helpful. Taking salt baths with essential oils, I always recommend that to people who are empaths. It literally helps clear your aura, and it has a physical relaxing effect. Being around animals is always grounding. And also turning to your practitioners, massage and reiki, acupressure or acupuncture. They even have acupressure mats for the home to walk or stand or lay on. I'm actually have my feet on one right now. And you can also look up charts and do acupressure with your own hands on your hand and feet. I've been doing that for a long time. Sound healing is great. I have a Tibetan sound bowl. I'm going to give it a quick round right now. Let's see if it wants to sing for us. So that clears the air and actually raises the vibration of the energy in the room. There are things like tuning forks. I have a heart chakra tuning fork. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm going to ding it right now. And then I wear this flute. It's called the Love Tuner. It's set at 528 hertz, which is a solfeggio frequency that helps your heart. So I'm not saying you have to go buy a flute, but this is cool, and it helps with that anxiety.
Krishna.
So I'm gonna give it a quick toot. You can also listen to solfeggio frequencies on YouTube. They have CDs. You can listen to it in music form. And then I just want to end with, I mentioned hugging trees. This is another earthy, crunchy one. Try walking barefoot when you can. Rubber soles that Europeans made fashionable actually block the earth's natural currents from being absorbed through the bottom of your feet. So if you can walk barefoot outside, it's very grounding. Last but not least, for good self-care hygiene, sleep, and good sleep hygiene. Not just getting enough sleep, but, what do you need to do to decompress so you can make your way into your bed and it be like a sacred chamber of healing for you? I have sprays I spray at night. Cedar spray naturally stimulates melatonin. I might sage myself before bed. I have crystals by my bed, and I only keep like really positive or spiritual or like, healing type reading by my bed, like, astrology books or whatever speaks to you. I also keep my journal. So those are my recommendations for self-care for mind and body. Stay tuned for spirit.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for sharing. This is a lot of content for my listeners to digest. And please DIY, do Try this at home using the crystals, the detoxes, the smudging, the being in water, essential oils, and everything else that Sarah suggested. Thank you so much for coming on today, Sarah.
Thank you, Jill. You're welcome.
I hope you enjoyed this episode on self-care with my guest, Sarah Adams, intuitive consultant, professional tarot and astrology reader. Make sure that you download the episode, subscribe, give us a 5-star review. This is Cosmic Scene with Jill Jardine, signing out, sending healing, self-care, empathy through the quantum field.